One of the great unspoken rules of comics is that Batman can pretty much beat any villain who exists within the DC universe, as despite being just a man with a penchant for leather, this billionaire playboy has managed to take down gods in his time. This is largely thanks to his insane wealth, which allows him to develop countermeasures for nearly any situation, and also his keen intellect, which allows him to even think of these situations in the first place. And yet, there's always an exception to the rule. That no matter how many bat bombs or bat traps that he's got hidden around Gotham, there are just some villains who have escaped his clutches. They might have been sent to jail, they might have even died, but Batman was never the one to beat them. Juicy Bruce might win the war, but he's not won every battle. So let's embarrass the Dark Knights, shall we? As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 7 villains Batman has never defeated. Number 7. Lady Shiva. Even by Batman's own admission, Lady Shiva is the best hand-to-hand fighter in the realm of the DC universe. The Caped Crusader may be at the very peak of human conditioning in terms of body and mind, and he may have been trained under the tutelage of some of the best martial artists on the planet, but even he can admit true skill when he sees it. Whenever Batman and Shiva have faced off, neither have particularly got the upper hand. But that said, there's often a sense that Lady Shiva is holding back whenever she comes up against the Dark Knight, a move that deeply infuriates Bruce beneath his cool exterior. Still though, he never gives anything less than 100%, it's just a shame that he's never managed to defeat her in combat one-on-one. But you know what, there is actually no shame whatsoever in being bested by Lady Shiva, and in actuality it's a testament to Batman's skill that he's able to even walk away from these encounters at all, seeing as so many others have laid dead at her feet. In fact, I bet he breathes a sigh of relief whenever she decides to stop fighting him and help fight crime on the occasions that their motives line up. Number 6. Sid the Squid. Sidney Debris is a central character of one of the most beloved episodes of the iconic Batman the Animated Series. It's an episode titled The Man Who Killed Batman, in which Sidney managed to do what many A-list supervillains could not, in that he actually kills Batman. Well, kind of, for the bungling Sid and his clumsy ways were responsible for the Caped Crusader falling to his apparent death amidst a huge propane explosion. Before that, Sid the Squid was merely a nerdy wannabe mobster who was used as a patsy by his buddies, but after being seen to have killed the Batman, Sidney was now Gotham City's big shot. Accidentally or not, Sidney did indeed get the better of the Dark Knight, and while Batman wasn't quite as dead as we were all led to believe, he never managed to truly defeat Sid. Instead, Bats actually helped Sid the Squid by placing him in a low-risk prison where his purported antics would see him viewed as the big time, respected, feared, and a figure that he so wished to be. Number 5. Prometheus. Not only was Batman unable to beat Prometheus, but the Rogue managed to take down the entire Justice League at one point in time. Sneaking into the JLA Watchtower after posing as a competition winner, yes, that really happened, the villain systematically took down each individual member of this team of heroes with little effort. When it came to Batman, the Caped Crusader was brutally smashed about by Prometheus after the villain had downloaded the fighting abilities of the 30 best martial artists on the planet directly into his helmet and his nervous system. And adding salt to the wound, one of these martial artists was Batman himself, meaning that the Dark Knight was beaten to a pulp by his own moves. Ouch. However, this wasn't the last time that we'd see of the pair facing off, as the next time that they duelled, well, Batman got his ass kicked again. Here, the Dark Knight had to call in assistance from his fellow heroes in order to finally take Prometheus down. Since then, Prometheus has only upgraded his horrible plans and would eventually end up with a plot that killed thousands of Star City citizens, including the daughter of Roy Harper. As a result of this, Green Arrow would break his own rule and kill Prometheus as an act of gnarly revenge, preventing Batman from ever being able to claim that he beat the villain on his own terms. Oh, but just one more thing. I should clarify that Batman did eventually beat Prometheus before Green Arrow killed him. However, he was only able to do so because Batman reprogrammed Prometheus to have the neural and physical coordination of Stephen Hawking. And because of this, he basically just beat up the late Professor, which is really dark and not a victory that you will probably see Bats wanting to brag about. Number 4. Krona. The fact that Krona is a villain who usually butts heads with the Green Lantern Corps should instantly give you an idea of just how big a deal this sinister sort is. Given that the Emerald Knights are tasked with protecting the very galaxy itself, they only ever spend their time tackling the biggest and baddest of big bads. When Batman came up against Krona, it's no surprise to hear that it proved quite the tough task for the Dark Knight. In fact, it wasn't just Batman who was on the losing side of this fight against Krona, for in that same battle we saw DC's famed trinity of Bats, Wonder Woman and Superman defeated in a fight that led to the Earth itself being destroyed. Krona was on a mission to destroy any planets that he deemed worthy of his time, and his assault on the Earth left the Trinity powerless. Fortunately, the very essence of the Earth itself would eventually combine with the not quite dead Batman, Wonder Woman and Superman to take down Krona. But Batman on his own? Not a chance, mate. He never got anywhere even close to defeating the all-powerful intergalactic Krona. Number 3. Giganta. Now, Giganta isn't particularly a Batman villain. In fact, the pair have rarely even crossed paths, but when they have, it has not worked out well for the world's greatest detective. For those maybe not at all familiar with Giganta, she's primarily a Wonder Woman villain who is a giant in every sense possible. With a mammoth stature and the strength and agility that comes with that, Giganta has proven to be a tough fight for many a hero, and Batman came toe-to-toe with this mighty force during an episode of Batman Brave and the Bold. The episode Powerless featured a concern over how Batman and his lack of superpowers could easily be swatted to one side by some of the more powerful members of DC's rogues gallery. And wouldn't you know it, like tempting fate itself, as soon as this worry has been raised, Giganta arrives to test the theory with her beefy fists. With Batman doing his usual Batman thing of heading into battle with a plan to take down this hulking figure, the Dark Knight is left red-faced when Giganta steps on him as if he were just a bug. Ouch. Now I know that this show takes a lot of liberties, but the pair never had a rematch, meaning that this battle was a true embarrassment for Bats, and might even be why he rarely smiles these days, thinking instead of just how stonking a defeat this was. Number 2. Bizarro. It takes a special kind of villain to be given their own alt-world comic book title, but in Bizarro that was indeed the case for a time. Designed as a mirror image of Superman, Bizarro has at times been allowed to showcase a world which features skewed mirrors of so many of DC's finest heroes. Now, while Bizarro is viewed by many as merely a knockoff, distorted version of the Man of Steel, one thing that the character does have over the more illustrious Superman is that he's actually yet to be defeated by Batman. One of the greatest dynamics of comic books, period, is the relationship between Batman and Superman, and part of that dynamic is when these polar opposites end up butting heads. Yet Batman has somehow managed to emerge victorious in some of these contests, but that actually might just be courtesy of kryptonite-laced rings or other devices, or the fact that Superman is holding back just a little bit. However, when he's faced Bizarro, Batman has been left beaten and battered to almost comedic extent. And number 1, Onomatopoeia. In a landscape where readers have experienced a somewhat oversaturation of violence and villains, it takes a lot to make a rogue seem like a truly sinister, chilling presence. But with Onomatopoeia, Kevin Smith managed to create an evil who was utterly terrifying for a whole host of reasons. Introduced in 2002 as part of Smith's run writing Green Arrow, Onomatopoeia was instantly made into a clinical, ruthless killer who was a breath of fresh air for DC Comics. And while the Emerald Archer ultimately failed to put a stop to Onomatopoeia, so too has Batman failed in his battles against the mysterious figure. In 2008's Batman Cacophony, the Caped Crusader first runs up against the foe, and while Bats initially does get the upper hand, Onomatopoeia pulls a trump card that Batman didn't even know or could have foreseen. The new foe stabs the Joker through the heart, resulting in Onomatopoeia being able to escape as Batman chooses to save the Clown Prince of Crime's life instead. Even worse was to follow for Batman, however, when Onomatopoeia decided to go undercover as a Gotham City hero called Baphomet. In this guise, Onomatopoeia infiltrated the Bat family to such levels that Batman actually unmasked in front of him, only to see Baphomet slice the throat of Bruce Wayne's girlfriend Silver St. Cloud as he revealed himself to be Onomatopoeia. That twisted act has yet to be avenged, as the follow-up has been delayed for nearly a decade, and as such, Onomatopoeia has managed to not only cause Batman extreme distress, but has also gotten away with it. And there we go, those were 7 villains that Batman has never defeated. I hope that you enjoyed that, my friends, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. If you want to chat to me further about all things comics, video games, films, and or wrestling, then you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. We spoke a lot today about villains here who couldn't be defeated, but you know what, my friend? You should not be a villain to yourself. You should treat yourself fairly, both mentally and physically. I know it can be hard to do sometimes, but with the support of friends, family, and professionals in the support industry, you will find that your problems, whatever they might be, are much more easy to solve with the help of a trusted few. I hope you're well. Now go out there and smash it, you big ledge. As always, I've been Jules. You've been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.